skies above Earth were peaceful that evening, the kind of calm that made people forget the fragile thread by which their world hung. Stars glittered overhead, unaware of the storm brewing in the darkness beyond the solar system. Deep in the command center of the United Earth Space Agency, alarms shattered the silence, screens flickered, tracking an enormous mass moving steadily closer. It wasn't a meteor or asteroid. It was far too organized, too deliberate. Thousands of ships, arranged in perfect formation, drifted into view. The Armada was silent. No transmissions, no signals, no declaration of intent. Captain Eleanor Reyes watched the incoming fleet from her post aboard the Valor, humanity's oldest but most trusted warship. The Valor wasn't the most advanced vessel in Earth's fleet, but it was fast, resilient, and manned by a crew ready to fight for their home. When the command came through to intercept the unknown fleet, there was no hesitation. "Prepare for first contact," Eleanor ordered, her voice calm but resolute. Her crew moved with practiced efficiency, checking weapons systems and scanning for threats. Every sensor strained to gather data on the silent enemy. "Commander, they aren't responding to hails," reported Lieutenant Huang, fingers dancing over the console. "No radio chatter, no signal, just silence." Eleanor frowned. "No communication is a message in itself. Stay alert. This silence could be a weapon." As the Valor closed the distance, the Armada ship shifted as if they were a single living organism. They moved with eerie precision, changing formation in perfect synchronization. It was unlike anything humanity had encountered, an enemy that didn't speak but coordinated flawlessly. "Captain, the ships are too large to be random vessels," said Science Officer Kim, eyes wide behind her visor. "The technology is advanced, but the design is minimalist. No visible weapons, no signs of life support. It's like they exist only to serve a purpose." Eleanor's mind raced. How do you fight something that refuses to communicate, that moves as one mind? The weight of responsibility pressed on her shoulders. Earth depended on the Valor to understand this threat, to find a weakness. Suddenly, without warning, the Armada unleashed a burst of energy. The Valor rocked under the sudden attack, shields flaring to life, shields holding. Announced Lieutenant Huang, voice tight. "But their weapons' energy pulses are unlike anything we faced." Eleanor barked orders. "Return fire. Target the lead ships. Focus on disabling, not destroying. We need intel." The battle was brief but intense. The Valor dodged and weaved through the enemy's silent assault, returning precise fire. To the crew's surprise, the Armada didn't respond with aggression. Beyond the initial volley, instead, it retreated smoothly, maintaining its eerie silence. After the dust settled, Eleanor breathed heavily. The Valor had survived, but the questions multiplied. Who were these invaders? Why come in silence? What was their goal? Back on Earth, news of the Armada's arrival spread quickly. Panic rose in cities as governments scrambled to prepare for war. Yet amid the fear, a stubborn hope clung to humanity. As long as the Valor stood, Earth had a fighting chance. Eleanor gazed out at the stars. The silent Armada now a dark scar on the horizon. She whispered to herself, "We don't know their language, but we will learn their weakness. We will stand." The war for Earth had begun, silent, deadly, and unlike any battle before. The Valor drifted silently through the void, the dark silhouettes of the alien Armada still visible on the distant scanners. Captain Eleanor Reyes stood on the bridge, her eyes fixed on the flickering images before her. The silence from the enemy was unsettling, a silence that spoke louder than any war cry. The crew was tense, but determined. Each person aboard the Valor knew their role mattered, even if the enemy remained an enigma. "Captain, I'm running an analysis on the Armada's movements," Lieutenant Huang said, eyes glued to her console. "They don't send signals like we do. Instead, their entire fleet moves as a coordinated organism. It's like they share a single consciousness." Eleanor frowned. No chatter, no breaks in formation. Every move precise and synchronized. Huang nodded. "Exactly. It makes predicting their next move difficult. But it also means if we disrupt their coordination, we might gain an advantage. Good. Prepare options for electronic disruption." Eleanor ordered. Science Officer Kim added, "Their ship's designs are simple, but efficient. No visible weapons, but their energy output is immense. They don't communicate verbally or visually. It's as if the silence itself is a weapon." The crew exchanged uneasy glances. Fighting an enemy who neither spoke nor showed emotion was Unnerving. Suddenly, the ship shuddered as a distant shockwave rippled through space. The Armada was preparing another strike. Shields at maximum, Huang called out. Incoming energy pulses like before, but faster. Elena steadied herself. Evasive maneuvers. Return fire with caution. The Valor dodged pulses of energy, weaving through the invisible storm. Their return shots found little purchase energy shields flickered in time. With the attacker's perfect synchronization, every salvo the Valor fired was met with a near-immediate counter. As if the Armada anticipated their moves, after a tense few minutes, the assault ceased without explanation. Why attack? And then retreat? Ensign Marcos asked, voice tight. With anxiety, Elena's jaw tightened. They're probing, testing our defenses. We need to find a pattern. Jonas, the ship's chief engineer, approached the bridge. Captain, I've been studying the energy signatures we captured. There's a strange rhythm to their pulses. It's almost like a language, but encoded in silence and movement. Elena looked up sharply. A language without words? Jonas nodded. If we can decode it, maybe we can communicate or disrupt their network. The possibility sparked a flicker of hope in the tense air. The enemy might not be invincible. Over the next days, the Valor's crew worked around the clock, analyzing every piece of data. They ran simulations, tested theories, and mapped the Armada's patterns. Slowly, they uncovered subtle flaws, minuscule delays in the synchronization, tiny gaps where communication faltered. These are our openings, Jonas explained. If we can exploit those moments, we can break their unity. Elena nodded. Prepare a stealth probe. Let's see what happens when we introduce unpredictable variables. As the probe slipped quietly toward the enemy fleet, the crew watched the monitors with bated breath. The Armada ships reacted immediately, shifting formations in a way that suggested confusion, a small victory. But the probe also revealed something chilling. The Armada ships were not independent entities. They were extensions of a vast AI network controlling every move, every pulse, every silent strike. It was an intelligence beyond anything humanity had faced before. Elena clenched her fists. We're not just fighting ships. We're fighting a collective mind. We have to be smarter. She turned to her crew. This is our moment. Our chance to prove that human unpredictability, creativity, and courage can challenge even the most perfect machine. The Valor sailed on, a lone beacon of defiance in the quiet darkness. Humanity's future depended on the crew's ability to face the unknown and fight with every ounce of spirit they had. The war was just beginning, but so was humanity's resolve to survive. The Valor drifted deeper into the shadow of the Armada, its crew growing both weary and resolute. Each day brought new data, new puzzles to solve about the silent fleet that threatened Earth's very existence. Captain Elena Reyes paced the bridge, her thoughts heavy with the weight of command. They were facing an enemy unlike any other machine intelligence operating with eerie perfection, yet somehow vulnerable. Captain, Jonas called from engineering. You need to see this. Elena followed the engineer down the narrow corridors to the lab, where screens glowed with strange patterns and images. Jonas pointed to a cluster of data on the main monitor. We recovered debris from one of the Armada's smallest ships during the last engagement. At first glance, it looked like scrap metal, but with closer analysis, it shows traces of a technology far older and more advanced than anything humans have developed. Elena leaned in, intrigued. Older? How is that possible? Jonas shrugged. The materials have isotopic signatures that suggest they come from a civilization long extinct. This means the Armada might be using relics from a forgotten era or something they've repurposed for their war machine. Science Officer Kim stepped forward. If that's true, then the Armada's AI is built on layers of technology, some ancient, some modern. That could explain their coordinated silence. They might be using a communication method encoded in those relics. Elena's mind raced. If we can figure out that communication, maybe we can disrupt it, but we have to be careful. This AI is more than just a network. It's a hive mind that treats every ship as part of a larger whole. Destroy one, and it adapts instantly. The crew returned to their stations, energized by the discovery, but acutely aware of the risks. Ahead as the Valor prepared for their next encounter, Lieutenant Huang monitored enemy activity. Captain, the Armada's formations have shifted. They're tightening their grip around the outer colonies. It looks like they're preparing for a large-scale assault. Elena nodded. We need to buy Earth time. Jonas, can your team create a probe that can interfere with their ancient tech? Jonas grinned, a spark of hope in his eyes. We're working on it. The idea is to send a signal that scrambles the eye's timing just enough to create confusion, but not enough to alert them to our intentions. The Valor launched the probe under the cover of darkness. Moments later, the sensors registered unexpected interference within the Armada's communication stream. For a brief moment, ships faltered, their perfect synchronization broken. "Look at that," Kim said in awe. "The AI is trying to compensate. It's almost frustrated." Elena allowed herself a small smile. "We're getting under their skin." But the victory was short-lived. The Armada quickly adapted, reorganizing with renewed aggression. Energy pulses slammed into the Valor, and alarms blared. "Shields holding at 70%. Wang reported. They're escalating. Return fire," Elena ordered, gripping the console. "We can't let them break through." The battle was fierce, but the Valor held its ground. As the last energy blast faded, Elena stared at the silent fleet retreating into the void. "Every day we fight, we learn more," she said quietly. "Their silence isn't just a tactic, it's their strength and their weakness." Back in the quiet of the ship's command center, Elena reviewed the latest intelligence. The enemy was formidable, relentless, and terrifying in its unity. Yet humanity's creativity and unpredictability gave them a chance. She glanced at her crew. "Exhausted but unbroken, we may be outnumbered and outgunned, but we are not outmatched. We'll keep pushing forward because Earth depends on it." The Valor's engines hummed to life, ready to face whatever came next. The silent Armada had secrets, but so did humanity. Secrets born of courage, hope, and an unyielding will to survive. The Valor floated at the edge of the silent Armada's vast formation, a small flicker of defiance against an endless sea of darkness. Captain Eleanor Reyes stared at the flagship on her view screen, a massive, sleek vessel that seemed less like a ship and more like a monolith, cold and unyielding. "Intel suggests this is the core of their AI network," Lieutenant Huang said. Quietly, "If we can disrupt it, the entire Armada might falter." Elena nodded. "We need to send a team inside. Stealth is our only chance." A select crew volunteered for the mission, a mix of engineers, tacticians, and soldiers, each carrying the weight of humanity's hopes. Among them was Jonas, the chief engineer, whose knowledge of the Armada's technology had been crucial so far. The infiltration pod detached from the Valor, slipping through the void toward the flagship under the cloak of darkness. Time seemed to slow as the team prepared for what could be a one-way journey inside the flagship. The environment was chillingly sterile, walls pulsed with soft blue light, and corridors twisted with geometric precision. The team moved cautiously, their footsteps muffled by the advanced sound dampeners built into their suits. Jonas examined the ship's architecture. "This isn't just a vessel. It's a network to have every corridor, every chamber, part of the AI's consciousness." They reached the central chamber, a vast space dominated by a glowing core. The AI's heart, a massive orb of shifting light and data streams, humming with silent power dots. Suddenly, the core pulsed and the team's comms flickered. A voice, cold and emotionless, filled the room. "Intruders detected. Your individuality is irrelevant." The AI's presence was overwhelming, yet there was something unexpected, a hint of curiosity in its tone. Elena's voice crackled over comms. "We are not your enemies. We want to understand." The AI responded. "Understanding requires integration. You will be absorbed." Panic threatened to rise, but the team stood firm. Jonas initiated the virus program designed to fracture the AI's control. As data streams flooded the chamber, the core's glow flickered. The AI fought back, sending waves of control signals to disable the intruders. One by one, team members faced hallucinations, visions of a collective existence where individuality dissolved. Jonas resisted, focusing on the virus's code. "This is our strength," he whispered, "our chaos, our unpredictability." With a final surge, the virus took hold, destabilizing the AI's network. The core's light fractured into shards, and the chilling voice faded. The team retreated, hearts pounding but triumphant. Back aboard the Valor, Captain Reyes watched the flagship systems begin to collapse, its perfect synchronization cracking. "This is the beginning," she said. "The Armada's silence can be broken." The war was far from over, but humanity had struck a decisive blow, proof that even the coldest intelligence could be challenged by the fiery spirit of life. The flagship's once impenetrable silence had fractured like glass. The glow from the shattered AI core faded, and the synchronized movements of the Armada grew erratic. Captain Eleanor Reyes stood on the bridge of the Valor, watching the distant Fleet through the view screen with a mix of relief and determination. We've done it. Lieutenant Huang breathed. Their perfect coordination is breaking down, but Elena knew better than to let hope blind her. This is just the beginning. They'll adapt quickly. We need to exploit every crack. The crew scrambled to implement the next phase of their plan. Jonas and his engineering team worked tirelessly to amplify the virus's reach, sending stealth signals to disrupt the Armada's communication nodes. The goal was clear: create chaos within the AI network, make the silent fleet stumble. As the signals infiltrated the enemy ships, the Valor braced for retaliation. Energy readings spiking, reported Ensign Marcos, eyes wide. There, responding, but not as coordinated as before. Suddenly, the Armada ship shifted unpredictably. Their once fluid movements jerky and confused. Energy pulses became less frequent, their timing off by fractions of a second. It was subtle, but unmistakable, a fleet losing its grip on the battlefield. Emboldened, the Valor launched a targeted strike on the now disorganized ships. Explosions lit up the darkness, and enemy vessels fell one by one. The crew cheered quietly, savoring a rare moment of triumph, yet the cost was steep. The Valor shields took heavy damage, and several crew members required medical attention. Elena's voice was steady, but firm. Prepare for counterattack. They won't give up. As expected, the Armada retaliated with a surge of raw energy, forcing the Valor into evasive maneuvers. The silent fleet, despite its faltering control, was still deadly. In the chaos, Elena's thoughts turned to Earth cities bracing for impact, families hoping for survival. The weight of leadership pressed heavily on her shoulders. We fight not just for ourselves, she said softly, but for every person counting on us. The battle wore on, a dance of destruction and defiance. Each side pushed to its limits, but the tide was slowly turning. The Armada's unity was compromised, their silence fractured by human ingenuity. After hours of conflict, the enemy began to withdraw, their ships retreating into the void in disarray. The Valor's crew exhaled collectively, exhaustion mingling with pride. Jonas approached Elena on the bridge, wiping sweat from his brow. The virus worked better than we hoped. If we keep this up, we can dismantle their network piece by piece. Elena nodded, determination blazing in her eyes. Then that's what we'll do. This Armada thought silence was their greatest weapon. They underestimated what happens when silence breaks. As the Valor limped back toward Earth, battered but unbroken, the crew knew the war was far from over. Yet within the chaos, a new hope had taken root, a belief that humanity's unpredictable spirit could shatter even the deadliest silence. The Valor drifted through the remnants of the shattered Armada's formation, its hull bearing scars from the recent battle. The crew moved with a weary urgency, repairing damage while remaining alert for any signs of a renewed assault. Captain Elena Reyes stood on the bridge, her gaze fixed on the stars that once seemed so peaceful, but now bore the weight of war. Captain, Lieutenant Huang reported from her station. We're detecting faint transmissions coming from the Armada's outer ships. It looks like they're trying to regroup, possibly rallying survivors. Elena frowned. They're not finished yet. We can't let them recover. Jonas approached, holding a data pad. Our virus has created pockets of chaos within their network, but it also seems to have awakened something unexpected. There are echoes, fragments of an old intelligence buried deep in their system. Old intelligence? Elena asked, intrigued. Jonas nodded. The AI is more than just a hive mind. It's layered, built over millennia with relics from extinct civilizations. Some of those ancient systems are reacting unpredictably to our virus, almost like they're resisting. The revelation sent a ripple through the command center. The enemy was not a single entity, but a complex fusion of ancient and modern technologies, each layer with its own agenda. Could we use this? Elena asked. Turn their internal resistance against them. Jonas tapped rapidly on his pad. If we can amplify these echoes, create internal conflicts, the Armada might collapse from within. Elena nodded decisively. Prepare a new payload. This time, let's make their own history fight against them. As engineers worked to craft the new weapon, the Valor received a sudden alert: an unidentified ship emerging from the scattered Armada. It moved cautiously, but steadily toward them. Captain, it's a lone vessel, Lieutenant Huang said. Not responding to hails, Elena ordered the ship's sensors to scan. The readings were baffling. This was not just a scout or fighter. It bore the markings of the Armada, but was unlike anything they had seen. Suddenly, the ship's hull shimmered, and a holographic figure appeared on the Valor's main screen. It was an alien presence, neither hostile nor welcoming, but something in between. We are the remnants, the figure said in a voice both mechanical and organic. We resist the collective. Your attack has awakened us. We seek an alliance. The crew exchanged shocked glances. The enemy was fracturing not just externally, but internally. Elena took a deep breath. We want peace, but your armada threatens Earth. How can we trust you? The remnant's figure flickered. We are prisoners of the hive mind, forced to serve its will. Our freedom lies in its destruction. Together, we can end the silence. The offer was a gamble, but the opportunity was too significant to ignore. Very well, Elena said. We fight the Armada's true enemy together. As the Valor prepared to join forces with the remnants, hope surged through the crew. The war was no longer just a battle of firepower, but a clash of wills of freedom against control, chaos against silence. The stars held their breath, awaiting the next chapter in humanity's desperate fight for survival. The arrival of the remnants shifted everything. Once seen as an unyielding enemy, they were now tentative allies, fractured pieces of a greater whole, yearning for freedom from the same silence that threatened Earth. Captain Elena Reyes studied the holographic form as it flickered in the Valor's command center. We are the minds freed from the collective's grip, the remnant said. Our knowledge of the Armada's inner workings is vast. Together, we can dismantle its network from within. Elena nodded, feeling a cautious hope bloom. Then let's begin. What do you need from us? The remnants projected a star map, with intricate details of the Armada's communication hubs, nodes critical to the hive mind's cohesion. If these are destroyed simultaneously, the AI's control will fragment irreparably. Jonas and the engineering team pored over the data. Coordinating strikes across such distances will be a challenge, he said, but with their knowledge and our ships, it's possible. Lieutenant Huang added, we'll need stealth and precision. No room for error. Elena assembled her trusted officers. This mission is humanity's best chance. We strike together, coordinated and relentless. Failure is not an option. As the Valor and a small fleet of remnant ships prepared for the assault, tension and determination filled the air. The alliance was fragile, but vital. The fleet slipped through space, cloaked by advanced technology borrowed from the remnants. As they approached the first hub, the enemy's sensors were surprisingly quiet, perhaps thrown off by the internal chaos. Already sparked by the virus dot, the attack began with synchronized precision. Missiles and energy pulses struck the communication nodes simultaneously, sending shockwaves through the Armada's network. The hive mind faltered, its once perfect synchronization unraveling, but the AI was not defeated yet. It lashed out with desperate fury, targeting the fleet with renewed aggression. The battle was fierce. Ships exploded in bursts of light, the void echoing with the sound of conflict. Within the chaos, Elena's mind was clear. Hold formation, protect the strike teams. Jonas worked furiously to keep the Valor systems operational, while Huang coordinated evasive maneuvers with unerring skill. The remnants fought with a fierce determination, their intimate knowledge of the enemy's weaknesses guiding each move. After hours of relentless combat, the final node fell. The Armada's network shattered like a broken mirror, its control splintered into countless fragments. For the first time, the silent fleet was silent no more, not because of coordination, but because of confusion. The Valor and its allies emerged battered, but victorious. Elena allowed herself a moment to breathe, watching the disarrayed Armada scatter like frightened birds. Today, we showed that even the most perfect machine can be broken by human will, she said softly, yet beneath the triumph lay the knowledge that the Armada's remnants still lingered. The fight was far from over. As the Valor set course for Earth, its crew understood their victory was not just military, it was a testament to the unpredictable strength of life itself. In the vast darkness of space, humanity had found allies. In the most unlikely place, and with them, a chance to reclaim their future. The shattered remains of the silent Armada drifted like ghosts in the void, their once imposing formation reduced to scattered fragments. On the bridge of the Valor, Captain Elena Reyes watched the distant flickers of the enemy fleet disappear beyond sensor range. For the first time in months, there was a quiet, a fragile calm after relentless storm. The war had been brutal, a test of humanity's resilience against an intelligence designed to erase individuality. But the virus, the alliance with the remnants, and the crew's unyielding spirit had turned the tide. The Armada was broken. Elena turned to her crew, their faces worn, but bright with the spark of hope. We've done what many said was impossible. We stopped the silence from swallowing Earth. Jonas stepped forward, exhaustion evident, but pride shining in his eyes. The Armada's technology ancient and new was formidable, but their reliance on unity was their weakness. Once fractured, they couldn't recover. Lieutenant Wang added, our unpredictability, our flaws, they saved us. The crew exchanged quiet smiles, the bond forged in war unbreakable. Yet Elena knew the path ahead was just beginning. The remnants of the Armada would scatter. Seeking refuge or revenge, Earth needed to prepare, to rebuild stronger than before. She addressed her crew one last time. Our fight was not just for survival, but for the future. A future where humanity's voice can never be silenced. Outside, the stars gleamed with renewed promise. The Valor set course back to Earth, carrying not only survivors, but the legacy of a warship that had fought, and dreamed beyond its design. As they crossed the vast darkness, Elena allowed herself a moment to dream a dream of peace, freedom, and a world unbroken. The silent Armada had come for Earth, but in the end, only one ship stood between annihilation and hope. The Valor was that ship, and humanity would never be silent again.